Robot Damashii Gundam, Age-1 Normal. Hey, what's up again everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, GundamReviews.net, where you can see all sorts of reviews, including of the Age-1 Sparrow Titus, and now it's time to take a look at Flit's first mobile suit, the Gundam Age-1, in its normal type. December 2011 release, and it's Robot Spirit's number 108 side mobile suit. Regular retail price of 3,000 yen, but you can get this for a lot cheaper from HobbyLink Japan, and there's full links down below. The Age-1 Normal, of course, is supposed to harken back to the 78 Gundam, Amuro's first Gundam, from the aptly nicknamed First Gundam, and even though this is Daiki's high grade now, you can still see a lot of the similarities in terms of the coloring. The one thing that this guy was missing, though, was a giant ape and a sparrow form, which you can see here in the form of the red Titus and the blue Sparrow Spallo. But whenever you kick off a box tour, it's always best with Robot Damashis to imagine as you were in retail stores if they're not faced front. To see this side is always a great way to kick things off. And for the back of the box, yes, a new history has begun, even though it's almost come and gone now. Here you can see that he's not going to have a lot of color wraps, it looks like, there between the legs and the shoulders. Definitely going with a plain effect, but he is going to be coming with things like beam daggers there, in addition to the beam sabers. Effect parts are going to be attached onto the back with that race car spoiler. And action poses are always the name of the game for Robot Damashii, as they're always seeming to be in motion, as somebody wisely commented. Here you can see it's not necessarily that dynamic, but he is going to be able to kneel down ground Gundam style. As you can see that there's also going to be moving parts. Let's see how those work in practice. By delving into the box here, where you're going to be getting, of course, the clear tray, and on the bottom, a manual. And with the cover off there, you can see that you're going to get the beam sabers, the daggers, a base attachment point there, the shield, the effect parts taking up a chunk of space there, 4 extra manipulators, and the dods there to go along with the main body. Barely posed out of the box, you are going to see a few things. As mentioned, he's not going to have any lining details. However, the colors are all where there should be. As you can see, the gray going around in that jet engine is strapped onto his back there. But otherwise, the proportions look a little bit lanky. But the upper body is looking good there in terms of the elbows and the backpack there. Really, everything is where it should be. The beam sabers there in the side pockets. You can see the shield connector there. And the head is going to have some fantastic color wraps there. Definitely going to be looking better than a high grade right out of the box. To posability now, you can see that the front skirts are going to be moving up and down as well as bending forward like this, which is going to allow for a nice straightforward kick or a recliner there in the Lazy Boy. And off to the side with the side skirts out of the way, you can see that this is doing a very good job right off the hop. For the bend of the knees, check this out. You can see that this part is going to be splitting and this part is going to be pulling in there on the inside. Definitely clever design there, and the black color wraps there are going to be looking pretty good. The ankles, however, are not going to be rocking very far forward and back, but side to side, they're going to be doing a better job there, with the guard doing a good job of staying out of the way and inconspicuous. For the upper body, that A is looking good there for Age, but how about this for the posability? You can have him looking all the way down at his toes and all the way looking up at the stars there. Looking pretty sharp there. As you can see that it's got the bend point there. And so off to the side, he can also do this, and the better part is that he's going to stay there with zero effort on your part. You do want to be careful, because I was having a lot of problems with the Titus. These arms are interchangeable, swappable, and because of that, it also means they're too easily detachable. This one doesn't seem to have that problem yet. The shoulders there, you're able to move the arms up this high, looking very good. And if you want to bring them across the body here, you're going to get them about that far. For the elbow bend itself, you can take this and pull it up like that. So nothing fancy like we've got down below, and you are able to spin this part around to get the appropriate part of the triangle angled part there where you want it to, and the hand is going to have the rotating parts done up in gray, and the head itself is going to be on this rotating part that's going to go forward and back quite well, and more importantly, look menacing. For weaponizing here, I'm just going to be popping off this closed fist there. These are nice and easy to pull off, and the hands are awfully soft there. So for the 3-finger trigger finger split, of course, that's not going to be moving. You can put that on nice and easy. This part is going to be locking into the forearm, and if you want to look at the details here, you can see that you've got that one part there for the green scope. Twist that up, and you can actually take this part out. It looks like it's got a little bit of discoloration, but overall the color scheme is good, simple, and it actually feels solid. And the Dodds is going to be looking a little bit oversized there from some angles, but that does add to the dynamicism there. And on the inside of the shield, solid gray apps, and the blue and the white is going to be doing a good job of making this guy look a lot busy, but a lot less like a Crusader. As a gunplow builder, of course, the comparison I'm most interested in is seeing the Robot Damashii with its similar size next to the high grade, and that is the RD there on the left. And you can definitely see some differences in proportions. First of all, look at the knee height there, and just the general leg width, not to mention the size of the boots that he's actually got on there. The chest is going to be stretched out, as we've already seen with the Titus and the Sparrow, and the shoulders are going to be a lot thinner, especially if you look at them from the top. And the difference really, I guess, would be, right out of the box, is that this high grade, you're going to have to put a lot of effort into his head to get that green and all the lining in there, whereas the RD is going to be looking good right out of the box, whether he's got an A there or a Daiki T. Here he is next to the weaponed up Sandrock, which is also from Robot Damashii. With the legs straight, the Sandrock would probably have the edge there in terms of head height, but he's definitely going to be looking a lot bigger and bulkier. Again, adding to the svelte feeling here for the normal, and remember, he's got the Sparrow to look even skinnier. If Gundam Age had gone on long enough, maybe we would have gotten an F91 or an Age 6 or 7 out of the deal, but you can see that the head height is taller as it should be for the Age-1 there, but just look at the size there of the boots, very different in terms of the overall styling and details included in the kit. And do you like or dislike these toys? Head to GundamReviews.net, and on the front page and in the post you can vote to like or dislike each of them. And for the weigh-in, we've got the normal at 53 grams there. We've got the Titus coming in at 77, and how does the high grade stack up? We've got him down at 41. And the oh-so-light Sparrow there fluctuating 39 to 40. Robot Damashis are all about cool poses though, and they are going to be able to get there quick and easy. The ankles have cooperated, the arm just swinging up there with the shield is going to be looking good. And with that forearm lock for the Dodds, you can have them looking down the barrel and looking good doing it. Coming across the other way here, you might be a little bit annoyed that the right shoulder is not going to be pulling forward to go as far as you'd like leftwards across the body. But even crazy tiptoeing poses there as he focuses attention upwards, well, perhaps while he's reloading in a first-person shooter game, he's still going to be looking pretty good, not as stylish overall as the Sparrow, but then again, who is? He's just looking pretty normal. You can see the beam saber there in the side skirts, which are going to be nice and easy to pop out, and when you do, you're going to notice that they've got these small slits on the side. A little bit disappointing that they don't give you custom beam saber holding hands there. It's just going to be the same hand as the Dodds holder, and as long as you don't break this, you can just slide it into the hand with the dagger. Yes, the Dodds is awkward here, but I'm still very impressed with the way those front skirts are going to be moving out of the way. But what do you think of this when you see the beam dagger? Is it slightly more intimidating than the butter knife of the Genoese or the Genoi? The Dodds is always going to be fitting a little bit strangely in the hand just because of that forearm lock, but when you get rid of the daggers and put in the full-size beam sabers there, they're oversized, comical, and definitely fit with the overall somewhat stretched cartooniness of this toy. The effect parts here are well molded, and it's very big and bulky actually, and they're going to have that white frosting down there, similar to what we've already seen on the Titus's power punches. And with the help of his base connector there, once you get him up in the air, the effect parts are going to be shooting out over the back, depending on the way that you want to have him ab crunch. But the beam saber, the Dodds, the shield, and the effect parts all add up to something that I would say is going to be looking pretty cool, and a very simple way of taking the old classic Gundam design and still making it as dynamic as you can here in toy form. And here are all of the Age-1s fully out to attack. The normal's going to be getting the action base just to make him seem a little bit more dynamic, because in comparison to the effect parts there that you're going to be getting for the Titus, I mean, that one is wow. You've got all sorts of details popping out of the shoulders popping, the lariats looking good, the knees are swappable. You've got the extra size blade there and clear parts there for the Sparrow. So I think if the normal didn't have that blue effect part on his back, he definitely wouldn't stand out. In terms of overall posability, I've got to say that the edge is going to go to the Sparrow, of course, should be winning, and even the Titus just seems to come across as a little bit more dynamic. Again, maybe the best adjective to describe this guy is just going to be normal, but when you take them as the sum here, having all three out on display, especially if they're all facing the same direction and not rotating, could lend itself to some pretty cool displays. So for some final thoughts now, the normal of course was going to be the first one to come out there before adding just very few. After that, after the Sparrow, the Titus, and the Gaffran, we have not seen a lot of success in terms of Gundam Age reaching into that Robot Damashii older demographic for the price. But overall, I've got to say that let's talk positives first here for the Age-1 normal. It's giving you everything you'd expect. You're getting the shield, and I'd like to say that the daggers are a nice touch. In terms of the size and the overall cartooniness of the extra-length beam sabers, and that effect part really has grown on me in terms of the overall. I think I'd always keep it attached in to have him on display there, especially if he's going to be next to his pals who are himself. The knee bend is actually really impressive. I'm impressed with both the back of the leg and the front, and the overall styling. The black parts are going to be on there, not seals of course, and the details that are going to be etched into the A on the chest and into the head. Overall very pleasing to go along with a solid Dodds there. With the negatives though, just being perhaps a lack of options. Outside of set effect parts, really there's nothing too spectacular about this guy. Beam sabers, I am impressed with some things like the way the waist skirt is going to be moving, but he just doesn't seem to have all that many options. The Dodds is going to be a little bit awkward the way it locks in below the arm. The beam daggers come across as being a little bit small. They don't give him enough unique hands there. And if you do want to be swapping out the limbs, it just seems to be very awkward, because why didn't you just buy the Titus in the first place? So that play option there, even though this one hasn't come across as being too low or too loose, it just seems like it's something that doesn't need to be there because you've got to buy more parts anyway. This isn't like gauging builders where you can just go out and buy new limbs for yourself. However, if you want to talk final verdict, I'm still going to be saying a nice yay to this guy, because compared to the high grade, he comes across as dynamic and fun, easily posable there. The ankles didn't impress me upon the checking the posing for the video, but everything that I've tried to do with it has worked out well. A few other things, like putting the Dodds and having that attached onto the back, would have been nice. But overall, it's a fun, solid, easy to use, and easy to pose toy. And even better, though, I think, is having these three of the set. I've got to say the normal is the weakest of the three, just in terms of the way it's not going to stand out compared to the other two. But if you want to get all three for your shelf, I think the packaging is going to look great. The presentation of all of them is going to look great. And I think it's just a nice way to reflect back on the first generation and Flit when he was just a young, non-genocidal grandpa. And it's definitely a little bit unfortunate that we haven't got more of the Age kits later on in the line. Could we ever be getting a 2 or 3 or even an FX? I suppose not, but at the same time, these three are going to stand up as a solid contribution to the Robot Damashii line. But that's the pose right there that I've been waiting for, so why don't you let me know your thoughts about the toy, about the line, and of course what you think of the video itself, and stick around for lots more news, reviews, and everything else you can use. Thanks for watching, everybody. See ya. Dude, can I borrow your effect parts?
But then I would be normal.